Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, the Honorable Mr. Doni and all my friends in MPK Bahasa Inggris 17 class. I hope you have a good day today. First of all, I want to introduce my group members. We are from group 2. My name is Winkalia Dewi and the other member is Ananda David Ilham, Astirsya Warani Rinaldi, Karomaini Plazmi, and Rizka Aka. Now we are going to explain about cultural appropriation. In Indonesia, the term of cultural appropriation is not so familiar, but in recent years, especially in Western countries such as United Kingdom and United States, the term of cultural appropriation is often sounds. Okay, we just go into the material. You can see the PPT on your screen. So, what is cultural appropriation? According to Oxford Dictionary, cultural appropriation is the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of the custom, practice, idea, etc. of one people or society by member of another, and typically more dominant people or society. Next, there is Susan Scafidi, a law professor at Fordham University and the author of Who Owns Culture? Appropriate and Authenticity in Law America. She defined cultural appropriation as taking intellectual property, traditional knowledge, cultural expression, or artifact from someone else's culture without permission. This can include unauthorized use of another cultural dance, dress, language, folklore, cuisine, traditional medicine, religious symbols, etc. It's most likely to be harmful when the search community is a minority group that has been oppressed or exploited in other ways, or when the object of appropriation is particularly sensitive, e.g., sacred object. Based on two statements, a layer of cultural appropriation, what do you think about cultural appropriation? You can simply interpret cultural appropriation as the act of taking or using things from a culture that is not your own, without your permission and without you understand about its origin and about the meaning behind it. Because if you don't know the meaning about that, when you use that, it is possible to do mistake in usement. Okay, that's from me. The next slide will be explained by my friend Ananda David Ilham. Thank you.
Okay, now I will explain about actions that can be included as cultural appropriation. One of the most common mistakes someone made, so that is become an act of cultural appropriation, is because the ignorance about the culture and the product. Now this has become very important because there are reasons behind the creation of some cultural product in the culture itself. So when someone using cultural product but they don't know anything about the culture or what the product made for, it can be said as cultural appropriation. Now some product made by a culture, like some attribute or maybe an object, it can be have important meaning in the product itself in their traditional way, but some people seems don't know anything about it when they using some other people culture. Next, understanding the knowledge of a culture is the key to avoid cultural appropriation. Now, we must avoid acts that can be set as cultural appropriation, like wear, adopt, and borrow cultural product without finding out where the cultural attributes are from. Knowing the history of the culture of that product, and knowing the purpose of the cultural attributes. Now, if we're wearing some cultural product but don't know where it came from, or maybe don't know anything about the culture, it can be said as the cultural appropriation, because the knowledge of one culture is very important to appreciate the culture itself from the product. So make sure before using some culture product we must know where it came from and something about the culture itself. Next, some cultural products have a fundamental value and meaning behind their manufacture. Now this is why we should avoid acts like wear, uh, adopt and borrow cultural product, but we using it for poke of fun, or maybe the product has a sacred element but not using it for the purpose. Now actually there are some important value of a cultural product have, like maybe it's sacred, maybe it has religious meaning, or maybe it's honorable. Now the value also is can be manifested in many way, like maybe the function, or maybe the reason why it made, or maybe the historical approach meaning. It can be anything. Now if we're not using a product cultural product in their cultural function way, uh, it can be disgraced for the culture itself from the product, because we're not using it for the purpose. That is all from me. The next slide will be explained by my friend Astrid.
Thank you, Ananda David. Okay, so now we already know what is cultural appropriation and what act can be said as cultural appropriation. Now, in order to make it more understandable, I, Astrid Chawarani Rinaldi, will tell you guys some concrete examples of cultural appropriation that happened here in Indonesia. So the first one is the modification of barong dance. On April 23, 2018, one of Grandmaster Asia contestants, Rizuki, performed barong dance from Bali. As you guys can see here in my presentation slide, Rizuki did the barong dance with its costume and accessories. But there's something unusual. What is it? Yes, she wore veil. From non-Balinese point of view like ours, maybe her appearance doesn't really seems weird or strange, right? But for Bali people, this matters a lot, to the point it immediately invited so many negative comments toward her performance. I have read a thread on Twitter made by user at DownCity5. So this person pointed out what is wrong with Rizuki's performance, judged by Balinese culture and religion aspect. So he or she said that actually barong dance is a sacral dance in Hindu religion that had formal rule, and one of the rule is about the custom. So the custom is representing the evil in Hindu religion, and Rizuki's decision to modify the custom by wearing a veil is considered as a disrespectful action towards Hindu religion rule. Moreover, Rizuki also did magic trick while doing the barong dance, and that is of course totally not okay, because barong dance itself is a ritual or worship dance in Hindu religion. So in conclusion, I think Rizuki should not have made any modification toward barong dance without any proper research or goal. The second one is the usage of cornrow hairstyle. As you guys can see in my presentation slide, Agnes Mo on August 9, 2019 posted a picture on her Instagram account called @AgnesMo. In that picture, she used cornrow hairstyle, and that
made some people accuse her of exploiting black people, culture, and African American woman hairstyle. Later on, Agnes Mo responded to this accusation by posted a picture on her Instagram account. In this picture, there is some Papua women that get their hair braided, and in the caption, Agnes Mo talked about anyam rambut, which is a braiding hairstyle from Papua women. So she claimed that uh, the cornrow hairstyle that she used back then is actually inspired by this anyam rambut, and she did not think that she already did a cultural appropriation. But still, I think if black people is really feel there is a cultural appropriation from Agnes Mo action, then there is a cultural appropriation. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Agnes Mo case is a cultural appropriation, or did she just really inspired by Papua women hairstyle? Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. And the next subject will be presented by my friend Reska Deava.
Now I will explain to you why cultural appropriation is said to be bad action. Do you know why cultural appropriation is said to be bad action? There are some reasons for that. The first one, cultural appropriation is a problem because there is an oppression of minority culture. The example is the case in Australia, where the white Australians have stolen the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artworks for using that in t-shirts and souvenirs. It's possible to make much money for the Australian business, but there is no benefit to the original artist. It means when the dominant group steal the the cultural aspect of the minority, it continues the economic oppression and can be disadvantage of the culture. The second one, cultural appropriation doesn't give the credit for their own culture. Cultural appropriation has a wrong habit for giving the credit for aspect that have taken by dominant group. The example is when Kylie Jenner was credited started an edgy new hair trend, while the black artist Zendaya was criticized for wearing the hair at the same way. It's not fair because Zendaya's natural hair isn't negative, but Kylie Jenner was given a credit for something that's not hers. The last one, cultural appropriation creates the stereotypes. We can see from the Katy Perry cast in 2013 when she performed her song unconditionally while she wearing a geisha costume clothes, instead of wanting to pay homage to Japanese culture. The equivalent between the geisha's attributes and her song that imply unconditional love is tough to have an impact to the perpetuation of Western stereotypes of Japanese women who are passive and inferior. Now, my friends, Ibnu will continue the presentation.
Okay, I'm here to cover part of Ibnu explanation. It's about some critiques to cultural appropriation. The cultural appropriation is a crucial problem because it involves culture that not belong to us. But there's also other arguments and point of view that critiques the term of cultural appropriation. The first one, cultural appropriation is colliding with the value of freedom and consent and expression. Secondly, it is difficult to distinguish between cultural appropriation and the appreciation of a culture. Third, administratively, no particular group has the right to have an exclusive of culture. Now, these critics assume that cultural appropriation is hard to identify, especially when it comes to the globalization area, where everyone can express their freedom. It is also that the exclusive ownership of culture is not recorded, even if it's not anywhere. This leads to some question like, how do certain of people make full claims of their culture? Um, this means things such as a research uh, can be brought to the patent department, where the research can be patent, can have rights of property, or maybe an artist register the copyright so that person who use the artist's artwork can pays a royalty. But different from result of an research or an artworks, the cultural appropriation is not under the law, such as property rights. Now, those critics lead us to our conclusion. The cultural appropriation is an act of taking or using things by one culture from another. Entering the area of globalization, it is increasingly difficult to determine whether an action it is said as cultural appropriation or not. But the cultural appropriation also becomes sensitive discussed in some society. In short, an act of cultural appropriation can be known by ourselves whether we do it or not. What we can do when we borrow other people's culture is to identify first and respect the culture where the cultural product made from. Now, that is all our group presentation. I hope we learned some valuable lesson. Thank you very much.